Hello and welcome to an all-new Marvelcast Explosion Network's hub of all things Marvel, a place to talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers and Defenders to Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. My name's Ashley Hobley, your podcast host without fear, and joining me today is the astonishing Dylan Blight.
Happy to be here to talk about the Defenders season 2.
Hopefully. Yes, today we're talking about not the Defenders, but the season finale of Daredevil Born Again. So let's get into it. Please be aware we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about plot themes and ending of the show and this episode. So if you haven't watched it, come back later. With that said, let's jump into talking about Daredevil Born Again, Episode 9, Straight to Hell, directed by Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson, written by Heather Bellson and Dario Scardapane. Dylan, what'd you think of Straight to Hell?
Look, it's fine. I think this episode really is the cement in the troubling season that they had, and like between it's really like you look at the start of the season and the end of the season, and then like what you have in between. And now that we've finally finished it off, you can just see that you can see the cracks in the the foundation and the reshoots and whatever else. Yeah, I mean, look, I was happy to have Karen back finally. I think that was probably my highlight. But ultimately, I just felt like the whole episode just was more or less all set up for season 2, and I didn't feel like a lot of it did anything for what I had been watching this year. If I, like, I guess the only story thread that you see finished is squashed, literally. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I thought it was just fine, to be honest. Like it didn't do a lot for me. I'm gonna be real. I watched it and it was in one eyeball and out my brain. I was like, okay, season 2, I guess.
No, I totally get that. I had a good time. I enjoyed. Obviously, there was some pretty good action sequences and good banter between Daredevil and Punisher again. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say because obviously season 2 is coming. Not far down the pipeline, I don't believe.
Already filmed it, I think was the.
Yeah, they were filming and that kind of stuff. Yeah. It partly feels like mid-season break, even. Like, obviously, we've been theorized, like, when it was originally announced, it was like an 18-episode series. Like, this is like, is this just the halfway point of the season? But I think last week,
after all the trouble, they sort of like was like, fuck it, let's just get something out there, and then like it's season 1.
Yeah, I mean, let's just kind of get to an end point that we want to get to. And really, it is kind of, we've taken the long way around to get to where we were in the first episode, which is Daredevil against Kingpin, except Kingpin is in a little bit more dominant position, even though he was in a very dominant position on Mayor before. But yeah,
the fire rises.
The fire rises. Yes, it is. It is very Bane.
It's got the city on lockdown,
Yeah, I mean, it definitely interesting juxtaposition to every season of Daredevil, where Daredevil kind of wins at the end. This one, Kingpin is definitely on top. Leading the way, having his way with the city and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it in that it was setting up what was going to be next season, and I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing for a lot of shows. I mean, you look back at a show like Game of Thrones, where every single season finale was setting up the next season, effectively. Kind of putting all the pieces in place. Yeah,
I've no problem with a show setting up next season. I just feel like because of the very mixed bag season that we've had, there's not a lot of payoff or like interesting stories that go anywhere this season.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, I feel like the major plot line is Matt become Daredevil again.
Cool.
And he kind of accepts being dead, which is the plot of every single season of Daredevil.
Yeah, never seen that before.
So, all right, let's just run through the episode and share your thoughts. Reading from the Wikipedia, using the Wikipedia page mostly for this. A year earlier, Vanessa visits Dex and asks him to kill Nelson in exchange for his freedom. Throwaway line here, but they kind of imply that because of the stuff with the FBI and Agent Nazim, that's why Wilson Fisk was acquitted and got out of jail.
Yeah, it was a very throwaway line.
Which, I don't know, still doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, whatever.
Why wasn't he still? Was he still charged with the crimes before he met?
Yeah, no idea.
All that stuff, but yeah, obviously, it seems like Dex was being very, very drugged up during his time in whatever place he was staying. Like a Arkham Asylum-esque place, I guess, except maybe a little bit nicer. Just drugged to the gills.
We're also. I feel like there's a few things that stand out now with the reshoots and Moorhead and what's their name?
Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson.
Yeah, they're taking over. I feel like that he wasn't even in it. Like, is that just between the fact that he's such a prominent thing in the start of the season and then the end of the season, again, it just feels like, fuck, quickly shoot a.
You mean he wasn't originally intended?
No,
absolutely right.
No.
Yeah, so cut to the present. Obviously, Dex escapes the ball while Matt is hospitalized. He when he wakes up, the first thing he says is not Heather, his girlfriend of several months. He's been apparently in love with is Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Setting up what would happen later in the episode. Was it there that you expected Karen to show up? You're like, no.
No, I don't know when she was going to show up, but I went into the episode being like, surely she shows up again this season. Like that's
So, Matt is shot, and is trying to convince his law partner, that Foggy was onto something. Vanessa Fisk was behind his death and that kind of stuff, but they don't really want to hear any of it and think he's just on the drugs.
On the drugs,
which technically he is, because he's definitely getting pumped with some morphine. Fisk reveals to Vanessa that he knows she orchestrated Nelson's death. Sure. Fisk orders Cashman to kill Murdoch and cuts off the power to New York City. Cashman attempts to kill Murdoch at the hospital, but Murdoch escapes to his apartment, where he finds Castle waiting for him. Really, I think it's interesting that they decided to pull this blackout thing, off. Obviously, he has that big scene in his office where he's like, "Oh, he tried to kill me. I'm gonna put my fist down," and makes a bunch of crazy demands. Everyone kind of tries to talk her from the ledge, but moments later, power to the entire city is taken out. Bold move. And very fast escalation.
Yeah, I'm slightly jumping ahead. The thing that annoyed me the most about this whole plan thing that he does isn't the fact that he screams and then suddenly has the ability to just apparently shut the power off anyway, without anyone being like, "Oh, that definitely wasn't you." Was just the fact that, of course, every single one of the people on the, I guess, the government board or whatever the hell, has some big dirty dark secret that he can blackmail every single one of them.
Yeah, when they have Daniel go and kind of strong arm them into agreeing with the Safer Streets initiative. I think it's what it's called. I mean, that's what the Kingpin does, though. He gets dirt on everybody and kind of bends them to his will.
There's just
like Gallo said, he never stopped being Kingpin.
Yeah.
Famous last words.
It's just a lot of everyone's. I was like, that's very Yep, of course.
What are you gonna do? But I mean, darkness. That's the blackout. It all plays into Daredevil's favor, really. When you think about it, who's the best person to fight in the dark? Daredevil. He's always dark.
No, it's 1,000 suns or something. Was the line?
That's true. The AVTF arrives at the apartment when Murdoch and Castle incapacitate. That's the word. And kill all except North. The pair learn that North killed Ayelet, and Murdoch resists killing him. I honestly couldn't tell North from any other stupid cops that are in this dirty cops in this show.
I still don't understand or care about this weird Punisher cop plot line thing.
What's there to understand?
I just feel like do more with it or don't do it. I don't know. It's just sort of, especially once we go ahead, it's just like they're like, oh, the dude who inspired us doesn't want to work with us, so we're just gonna beat the shit out of him and move on. And we're still gonna wear his logo.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, it's just like
when you stop wearing his logo, wouldn't he now be not your hero? I'm just confused about it.
No, they co-opted it. Like everybody co-ops symbols, just like the Nazis. Because there was a symbol for peace, like whatever, in reverse, and then the Nazis co-opted it. Yeah.
I mean, they changed it a little bit.
Yes, but cool fight scene. Obviously in the dark, so hard to catch everything. But Frank was taking people out. I believe he cut something off. I couldn't tell what. It might have been a head.
There was a lot of blood.
Might have been an arm.
Definitely a lot of
probably
blood
best. I don't know.
This episode was very gory. How do you go with that?
I mean, it was dark, so it's hard to...
Yeah.
I mean, there was one gruesome gory shot that was rough to watch, but which we'll get to. But yeah. After a grenade is thrown into the apartment, they flee the apartment, where the pair meet Karen Page, who returned after learning Dex escaped and asked Castle to protect Murdoch. Fun reveal. Oh, I love the shot. I think when they jump out and they land on the car, and then the camera is inside the car, shooting through the broken window, and then frames both of them in a great shot, and then the explosion from the apartment. Great framing. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. So obviously they go back to Castle's base of operation. Yeah. Well. Go back to Frank's little bunker. Get patched up. Did you get the impression that Frank's got a thing for Karen?
Yeah, isn't that the whole thing?
Do you reckon that's the reason he's all took like a Matt said, aftershave and a haircut?
Yeah, for her, yeah.
Yeah. Offers her a cup of coffee first, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting potential. What a weird love triangle for season 2, potentially. Because, I know. It is kind of weird. I guess, it's been almost a decade since Punisher was introduced in the Netflix series, I guess. So, because, he was very much pushing Karen and Matt together in that season. Weirdly shipping. At least when they were, him and Karen were on the run. Time makes the heart grow fonder. Distance. Absence. That too.
Named all the things.
I named all the possible things it could have been. Yeah. Chaos breaks out in the city, perpetuated by the AVTF, including 2 cops just shooting a random looter, which I thought was very unrealistic because it's a white kid.
It's true.
It's like that wouldn't happen. Then ask him to put everything down, ask what address he's at, ask me if he needs some change for the bus, that kind of stuff. No, shoot him, and then put a little beanie over his head and say, "No, vigilante." Fucked up. All right, Matt and Karen reconnect while they track down Nelson's Red Hook case, discovering the Fists are trying to establish a city-state. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So the idea is that Red Hook is a free port. So is is what Foggy was going to argue, because it's not technically America, that port. The crime that his client committed couldn't be tried. And I guess nobody had argued that in a long time, and thus it wouldn't have gotten like wider acknowledgement by the media or whatever, which he was hoping for. And that would have shined light of what Vanessa was doing at that port, which was importing stuff without paying taxes and customs or tariffs or whatever. So that's why she had Foggy, and I guess the person he represented killed.
I googled it because I was like, where are... Apparently Dubai, Hong Kong, and Singapore all have the biggest free ports in the world, and South Korea, Malaysia, and the Philippines and Sri Lanka are all planning on building them. So,
yeah. Do they work like this?
Yeah, so they're exempt from taxes and tariffs. So
there you go.
There you go.
And I guess you can kill people.
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't.
It's weird that they're like. But then it's weird that it's not America, but then the city of New York is deciding to put a bunch of money into it and build there. Like, technically, it's...
Well, that's the thing. It's just like, to get it all signed off, not a single person at any point when they're signing off on the building and whatever's going on, gone, hey.
Are you allowed to do that?
If we go back the records, we don't actually own said land. But we all know white people don't really like to check what land do they do or do not own, and they're quite happy to build anyway, you know?
They're quite happy to take any land, whether they have rights to it or not.
Yeah, so, you know what? Probably realistic.
Yeah, probably. Frank gets he took a police scanner and he hears that like all the police are like going back to Red Hook. So he goes to Red Hook to like take some out, and he gets overwhelmed by their superior numbers, but he does take a lot out in his quick, stanza against them.
I didn't like this scene.
Okay. Powell tries to get him to join them, but Castle rejects him, calling him fucking bunch of clowns. You're a fucking circus, you're a bunch of clowns. I think Frank needed to explain a little bit more why they're fucking clowns to their face.
Well, it's not just that. It's the thing that annoyed me is just the fact that he charges in there, like, apparently with no planning or anything at all.
But that's very
Frank
Punisher.
Castle's no. Punisher is like, I'll fucking like research. Like, there's 50 goons in this area. Let me check where all the exits and entrances are, and then I'll go in and kick their ass. Not, like no.
I guess he's a little impulsive in this.
Very impulsive.
Extensive.
Which is weird. Just, it seems not in character at all.
But yeah, he rejects them, so they just beat the shit out of him. One at a time while he still badmouths them.
Your biggest hero.
Meanwhile, Commissioner Gallo was trying to like go to the state governor to try and get Fisk taken from power, trying to get the help from Sheila, but Sheila betrays him, has recorded their conversation, gives it to Fisk. Fisk absconds him to Red Hook, or somewhere in Red Hook with a bunch of his own men, and then proceeds to beat him up and crush his skull in a brutal way. I mean, in season 1, he crushed someone's head with a car door. This time he just did it with his bare hands. And he just popped like watermelon, which takes a lot of force.
This scene also confused me. Why after... It's just a lot.
Well, when you put a lot of force on something, eventually...
No. Why after like a season of like, I guess... I know why they showed it to us as the viewers, which is to show that like he's stepping a bit more out of that mayor role back into the kingpin role, and like so they have him do something violent. But I just think like narratively wise, why does he do it there and with those people? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it why it's for us. I don't get it why it actually makes sense in the show. Like
Well, I mean, in the show, it's because he'd been trying to control him for a long time, and he was finally going to go above his head.
It's just a bunch of random police officers. It's not even his...
No, I understand. I don't know why.
It's not even his squad. It's not even like the Punisher squad, which would make
I think it is. Like, it's new recruits.
No. But if he'd done it in front of like the ones who were beating the shit out of Punisher, like those main dudes, like I would have been like the main guy who's talking to Frank, or even the dude with the thing on the bullet tube goes, if he hadn't have gone and got his ass killed at or whatever he's like in front of those characters would seen a bit more. I would have been like, that makes a bit more sense because he's like really like solidifying this relationship with these people and like sort of cult like and indoctrinating them a bit more. But like just the people there, I was like, I don't.
But I think it's the opposite. Like it is, like indoctrinating them into. They seem like they're all new recruits to the anti-vigilance task force.
They also look like, more scared. Like, oh, maybe we've made a mistake.
Yeah, but now they're in too deep. They just witnessed the murder. Like, what do you... And they're not going to, admit it.
Tell Batman.
There is no Batman in this universe. I don't know.
Fuck!
You're aware of this.
I thought they were all the
same. So while all this is happening, Matt and Karen are just like 50, 60 meters away. And they're like, are we going to go in? Nah.
Yeah.
And then they go home.
The only part of this episode that actually makes sense is her talking him down.
Yeah, admittedly, he has just been shot.
Yeah.
Probably not a smart idea to go in all guns blazing.
Mm-hmm.
Very un-Matt-like, but still, it is amusing that they're so close. And, don't end up doing anything. Fist declares martial law and outlaws vigilantism, as if that wasn't already illegal. Yeah. Matt says he needs to assemble an army to save the city. And we get a massive, long montage under
his monologue, which presumably
big monologue
in the room. I don't know.
What's the fucking song? Because it was in the first episode as well, I believe.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Fuck, do I need to put the episode back on in the lounge and Shazam it?
Maybe. Might be Staring at the Sun by TV on the radio.
No, let's put it on. Staring at the Sun. TV radio?
TV on the radio.
YouTube.
No, that's not it.
That's a very weird song. Should I play in episode 1?
I could have sworn I did. Or it played in something recently.
It definitely played something recently if it wasn't episode 1. Because when it started playing, I'm like, I've heard this before. And I'm going to presume it was from this.
If it's not episode 1, that's going to be very funny. Kid A by Radiohead.
You sure?
Pretty sure.
Everything's in its right place by Radiohead is what I
Oh.
got.
Close enough. No,
Oh.
I think Kid A is the album. No, everything in its right
Wait,
place.
I just Shazammed it. Yeah. Everything's in its right place by Radiohead. Yeah. Now, the question is...
Now the question is, where did we hear that recently?
Yeah, because it definitely was in something. Everything is in its right place. Song use?
It was in the first episode of The Day of the Jackal. That's the most recent thing that's listed on TuneFind.
Yeah.
Used in the opening end of that show.
Yeah. Yeah. I just looked it up. There you go, close enough. Episode 1 of that.
Of that other show with completely different characters and an entirely different universe and on a different channel, on a different streaming service. But yes.
Yeah.
Yes, montage of that. We get to see all the different characters pretty much, looking smug at some of them, reflecting others. I mean, the major reveal during this last part is that Fisk has abducted a bunch of people who have wronged him, including good old Swordsman, and he's got Punisher with him. In his, his what's his face bunker? What's the dude?
Adam.
He's Adam bunker.
Yep.
Which he's now sharing with Vanessa, and they're about to have a very fancy meal in front of the painting from the Daredevil Netflix show, the White Rabbit in the Snow, which of course was smeared with blood in the season 3 finale. Now proudly hung in this bunker. Meanwhile, Matt is standing as Daredevil in Josie's bar in front of a couple of people that we know, Josie, Cherry, the detective from the the bank.
Cops.
Yeah, a few cops. Kind of an odd, odd thing, I guess, and then the show kind of ends with him, a shot of through Josie's bar, which has got newspapered over. There's a small tear, and you can see Daredevil. Mm-hmm. And then a red light starts flashing for apparently no reason other than it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the majority of things that I have to see this episode.
Yep.
What are you expecting for season 2, part 2?
A more narrative that links together better.
Okay, bigger. What do you hope? What do you expect? Is the potential for a Defenders reunion possible?
Yeah, I'm expecting some of the characters.
He says he wants to build an army.
Yeah.
Are we going full, comic Civil War, where we're going to get a fucking team of vigilantes up against the hiding in the sewers, fighting against the man, which is Kingpin, who during his I thought the funniest thing to me during his speech, he's like, "There's a curfew, 8:00 in New York City, the city that never sleeps. Everybody's going to be in their house at 8:00.
Yeah,
you go kill Broadway.
More realistic.
You're going to kill
11 p.m. or something.
Yeah, that's more realistic.
Yeah,
fucking hell, Grandpa over here."
I am fully expecting, that's why I made, that's why I made the Defenders joke before. I'm expecting some of the characters to come back. I don't know if they, at the time, knew which ones they would or wouldn't get back. I wouldn't say the full team, they're not going to do the full Defenders, but I would expect, if I had to guess, I'll say Luke Cage.
Mm-hmm.
I would then say possibly they try to get Danny Rand back.
I mean, he's come out and said he wants a second chance.
Yep. So I'd say those two, and then let's say 2 to 3 other New York
vigilante types,
vigilantes that we may or may not have seen already.
Yeah, I expect this is an opportunity to introduce a bunch of new characters.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be cool to pull from a few other shows and that kind of stuff. Could bring Cloak and Dagger in or something like that from that.
Obviously, my biggest question is just where the fuck is Spider-Man? But anyway, that's fine.
We're going to find out in his new movie.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the problem once you start connecting everything. At a certain point, you got to be like, man, it's crazy.
I was going to say, Matt Murdock knows Peter Parker's Spider-Man, but, he's got his memory wiped.
Mm.
Call in She-Hulk.
Cloak and Dagger would be Cloak and Dagger. I mean, She-Hulk would actually make sense. Whether or not they want to do it because of the reaction to the show, but as far as set up relationships would make sense.
That would be so interesting. Because obviously they also set up Heather's joint this administration as head of mental health. I don't know how that works when you don't want your police force to tackle their mental health.
Just once on the books.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we get. I mean, freaking young Hector's niece. I wouldn't be surprised.
She's too young though. I think is the.
I think Matt will not want to, but kind of be forced to talk on her.
Forced to what?
Forced to accept that she's part of the team.
Punisher as well, I guess would be the.
I guess obviously we do get a end credit scene where Punisher is sweet talking this guard, this naive, gullible guard. By talking about he's got a good feeling about him, he wants to thank him. Stretches his hand through the cage, and this dumb guy is like, "Sure, the Punisher, who I saw murder a bunch of my friends." Before I'm going to shake his hand. No. Punisher's about to escape, you would assume. So maybe we get Swordsman next season, properly as well. Break him out.
I just googled New York Marvel characters to see if anyone else stands out.
I mean, technically it should be all of them because they're all based in New York.
Yeah, but ones that would make sense and have been introduced. Misty Knight.
Yeah.
They could bring Moon Knight back into it.
Did she ever get... I don't know, because I only watched The Defenders. Does Misty Knight ever come back in any of those shows?
I can't remember. But she's not dead. So, Moon Knight?
Nah. No way they're going to...
Even though it's the same show creators now, there's no way they'd want to...
Oscars, it's too big. Too
busy.
To cameo in the show. I mean, this is some small level, I think I talked about Blind Spot, who was a apprentice, I guess, protege to Daredevil at some point. Yeah, I'm sure there's some interesting characters they could pick and choose if they want. Even if it's just for a short run, or for examples of people being taken out for being vigilantes. You know what I mean? So yeah. Obviously we see Poindexter still on the loose. Do you know what he was looking at? Looking at a particular window at the...
Didn't get no reference I understood.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be Daredevil's army versus Fisk's police force next season, you would assume. So, anything else you want to discuss about this season overall, about the show?
No, but now that I've begun looking at it, we should do we should do an follow-up article of the top 10 likely heroes to
10 top 10 likeliest heroes to show up in season 2.
Yeah, look out for that. I got to say it on the podcast, so
it gets done.
I feel I'm more obligated to get it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, let us know what you thought of the season finale of Daredevil Born Again, or the season overhaul, by finding us on Blue Sky at explosionnetwork.com. If you want to help us out here at All New Marvelcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, leave us 5 stars, leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionnetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. That kind of ends our run on this show. We will be back in only a couple of weeks to watch Thunderbolts Asterix. So make sure you watch that and join us next time for another All New Marvelcast.